Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. Because I looked the last episode, as I stutter and stutter, the last episode was a little bit on the short end. I probably could have done one or two more, but I didn't. So this one might be a little bit on the longer end. First is askance. No, askance. askance. Could also be askant. So instead of the CE, it would be a T. This is an adverb from circa 1530. 1. With a side glance. Synonym is obliquely. Number 2. With disapproval or distrust. Synonym is scornfully, as in they eyed the stranger askant or askance. I kind of like askant in that one. It tells me that the origin is unknown. Fancy that. Now we have askesis, A-S-K-E-S-I-S, and it is a variation of askesis or ascesis with a C instead of a K, which we read before. Next we have askew, adverb or adjective from 1567, out of line. Synonym is awry, as in the picture hung askew. Askewness is a noun. This is probably from adding the first form of the letter A, which I guess would just be at the very beginning of the dictionary. I don't know what the definition of that is, plus the word skew, S-K-E-U-W. U-U, I should have said. So in this case, is it when you add the A to the beginning, it becomes the opposite? Does skew mean like in line? Because this is out of line? I don't know. I haven't really heard the word skew used in that way, but maybe it is. Next, we have asking price. Two separate words. This is a noun from 1755. The price at which something is offered for sale. Next, we have ASL, all caps. This is an abbreviation for American Sign Language. Something that I took a class in high school. I really only remember the alphabet and maybe a couple of words like yes and no. But my sister is a sign language interpreter, so she knows it very well. Next, we have aslant. So similar to askance or askant, but it is aslant. This is the first form. It is an adverb or adjective from the 14th century. In a slanting direction, synonym is obliquely. Now, the second form of aslant, it is a preposition from 1596, over or across in a slanting direction. Next is asleep, first form of 2. It's an adjective from the 13th century. 1. Being in a state of sleep. Number 2. Synonym is dead. 3. Lacking sensation. Synonym is numb, N-U-M-B. 4a, the synonym is inactive or dormant. 4b, not alert. Synonym is indifferent. Now the second form of asleep, it is an adverb from the 13th century. 1, into a state of sleep. Number 2, into the sleep of death. Well, that took a turn. Number 3, into a state of inactivity, sluggishness, or indifference. Next, we have as long as. This is a conjunction from the 15th century. 1, provided that. That is the whole definition. As in, can do as they like as long as they have a B average. You're giving them a lot of leeway. Number 2, synonyms are inasmuch as. That's the first synonym. And the second synonym is since. As in, as long as you're going, let me try that one again. As long as you're going, I'll go too. Yay, we can have a road trip. Next, we have a slope. This is an adjective or adverb from the 14th century, being in a sloping or slanting position or direction. Next, we have asocial. This is an adjective from 1883, not social, as A, rejecting or lacking the capacity for social interaction, or B, the synonym antisocial or antisocial. Uh, this gets into, introvert, extrovert, that whole thing. I think about this a fair amount. I might actually hold this little conversation for another word, which is not too far from here. But yeah, the whole idea of your sociality, if that's even a word, how social you like to be in communication with people is definitely a spectrum, and I find that really interesting, and I'm really curious. I think to learn more about that spectrum. Um, okay, we are going to move on to where were we? As of. As of is a preposition from 1900. We have synonyms on, at, or from, and this is used to indicate a time or date at which something begins or ends, as in takes effect as of July 1st. Now we have the word asp, A-S-P. This is the first form. It is a noun from before the 12th century. And we just have the synonym aspen. Second form of asp, this is a noun from the 14th century, a small venomous snake of Egypt, usually held to be a cobra. And the scientific name is Naja Haje, but I don't know if you say the j, so is it Naha Hahe? No, that can't be. Naha Hahe? No way. It's got to be Naja Haje, something like that. I could find a good picture of an asp to put on Instagram, but I think I can find other ones as well. Next we have asparagine. Asparagine? I think that's how it's pronounced. Or it could also be asparagine. A-S-P-A-R-A-G-I-N-E. This is a noun from 1813. A non-essential amino acid that is an amide of aspartic acid. And the chemical numbers and letters is C4H8N2O3. What's the proper term for that? Can any of you science, chemistry people tell me what would I call that thing? It's not a formula. It's not a scientific name or a scientific word or phrase. There's got to be there's a name for that. It's a chemical compound name, something. Okay, next we have asparagus, something else I could put on Instagram. This is a noun from 1545. Any of a genus of Old World perennial plants of the lily family having much branched stems, minute scale-like leaves. Excuse me, I'm burping. Minute scale-like leaves and narrow, usually filiform branchlets that function as leaves, especially one widely cultivated for its edible young shoots. All right, let's go back. The scientific name for the genus is just asparagus, or is it pronounced asparagus? And what else? So the one at the end, widely cultivated for its edible young shoots, the scientific name for that is asparagus or asparagus officinalis, or officinalis. I think that is close. And the etymology says this is, the Latin word is asparagus, which means the asparagus plant, and that is from the Greek asparagos, which is perhaps akin to the Greek spargan, which means to swell. I don't know how those are akin, but maybe they are. And I heard recently that when you're growing asparagus, you have to cut them at the right time because otherwise the shoots, for eating purposes, because otherwise the shoots, I think, will then branch off to create new shoots, and maybe it gets complicated. So you got to cut them down while they're in their prime. Next, we have aspartame, A-S-P-A-R-T-A-M-E. This is one of those that I feel like a more recent version of the dictionary might have a slightly more updated definition, although not necessarily. This is a noun from 1972, a crystalline compound, C14H18N2O5, that is a diamide synthesized from phenylalanine, I think I said that right, and aspartic acid, and that is used as a low-calorie sweetener. All I'm going to say is this stuff is bad, and you should really try not to ingest anything that has this. I think the most common one or the most well-known one is Diet Coke. Avoid this stuff as much as you possibly can because it will wreak havoc on your body. That's from what I've heard. Next, we have aspartate. I want to say aspartate, but I think it's aspartate. Just like the next one is aspartic, this one is aspartate. This is a noun from 1863, a salt or ester of aspartic acid. And aspartic acid is next. It is a noun from 1863, a crystalline amino acid found especially in plants. And the chemical compound is C4H7NO4. The etymology says, I think it says it's an irregular form from the Latin asparagus or asparagus. And so, obviously, asparagus is a plant, and aspartic acid is found especially in plants. So that makes sense, but I'm curious, why are those two related more than others? Why did they get aspartic acid from the word asparagus and not from something else? Do you have the answers? Probably not. Next, we have ASPCA, all caps. This is an abbreviation for American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. I love you people. I respect you people. I hope that you're not doing bad things behind the scenes like some other animal welfare places do. So, don't do that, please. I think one of the earliest times I heard the word ASPCA or that abbreviation was in a song called They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha. And maybe I'll see if I can find a clip of that and put it in here.
Well, you just wait. They'll find you yet. And when they do, they'll put you in the ASPCA, you mangy mutt.
Last word for this episode is a long one. It is aspect. A-S-P-E-C-T. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a. The position of planets or stars with respect to one another held by astrologers to influence human affairs. Also, the apparent position as conjunction of a body in the solar system with respect to the sun. 1b. A position facing a particular direction. Synonym is exposure, as in, the house has a southern aspect. I don't know if I've ever heard it used in these terms. 1c. The manner of presentation of a plane to a fluid through which it is moving or to a current. 2a1. Appearance to the eye or mind. 2a2. A particular appearance of the face. And the synonym is mien, M-I-E-N, a word I don't think I'm familiar with. 2b. You get a really good idea for where my brain is by saying, I don't know this word, or I've never heard it used this way. A lot of times those might actually not be true. Not that I'm knowingly lying to you, but I probably have heard these things, and I just don't remember, because my memory is kind of bad. All right, 2b. A particular state or phase in which something appears or may be regarded, as in studied every aspect of the question. Number 3 is archaic, an act of looking. Synonym is gaze. 4a, the nature of the action of a verb as to its beginning, duration, completion, or repetition, and without reference to its position in time. 4b, a set of inflected verb forms. Let me try that one again. A set of inflected verb forms that indicate aspect. And aspectual is an adjective. And now comes the time that I have to pick a word of the episode. We had a lot of good ones in this one. A lot of things that I had to talk about. Why is this so hard sometimes? The ones that are jumping out at me are asparagus, which I could just do on Instagram. Asp, I could do on Instagram. ASPCA, I love the fact that they are against the prevention of cruelty to animals, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and have to pick that one because I agree with what they're doing. But again, I want to say that I really hope they don't do anything like I've heard stories of how PETA will euthanize dogs or whatever. I don't doubt that it's true, honestly. I mean, I understand logistically and financially why organizations will do these things, but I don't agree with it, and I am torn on supporting them or not. But in general, I want to avoid any sort of cruelty to animals. So that is going to be it for this episode. This episode was like almost twice as long as the last one. So you never know what you're going to get when you're listening to the dictionary. That is it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds, and welcome to a brand new episode of this podcast called The Dictionary. This is a very weird episode because I am right now sitting in front of many members of my family with a headlamp on, so I have more light on the dictionary. We were getting together because my cousin is in town with her baby, and I thought it would be fun to do a live recording of this weird podcast. So let's get into the words. First word for this episode is aspect ratio. 2 words, ASPECT ratio, and no, I will not spell every single one of them. This is a noun from 1907. What was that?
Thank God.
And yes, you will probably hear some random comments from people every once in a while. All right, this is a ratio of one dimension to another, as A, the ratio of span to mean chord of an airfoil. Any airplane experts out in the audience today?
Mark.
No. Okay. B, the ratio of the width of a television or motion picture image to its height. Anybody else have any comments about aspect ratio? Do you know what your TV's aspect ratio is?
16:9.
16:9, that is correct. Do you know what the aspect ratio of the old TVs were?
3:4.
4:3, close enough. I don't know if you people could hear that. He's not holding the mic. All right, we are going to move on to aspen, ASPEN. This is a noun from 1593. Any of several poplars, I'm skipping the part in parentheses, with leaves that flutter in the lightest wind because of their flattened petioles. What is that word? Have you ever heard that word, petioles?
What's a
We have to wait
PTO?
till we get to the P.
Exactly. Petioles. Maybe you're learning some new words for your crossword puzzles. Let's look at the etymology. This is Middle English. It means of an aspen, from the word asp, which means aspen, from the Old English asp, A-E-S-P-E, and we recently learned that the A-E letter is called an ash, which is akin to the Old High German aspa, which means aspen, and Russian it is osina. Next we have asper. This is a preposition from 1782.
Are we still on Aspen?
We finished aspen. We said all the definitions and the words about it.
Oh, there is an asp. But did Cleopatra have an asp?
Yeah, that was a snake. We read that actually in one of the last couple episodes. You missed it. I'm sorry. You weren't here for that.
Not only that, but the lodge has a room called the Aspen Room.
Oh, see, there you
That's where
go.
they have private parties there.
That's perfect. We just read aspen, so thank you for that comment. I'm looking for that kind of stuff. This is going great, people. All right, next we are going to move on to as per. I had read it as asper, one word, but it is 2 separate words. It is a preposition from 1782, and it means in accordance with.
I take an aspirin when I go to bed at night.
Chicka-boom.
You're a little early, but yes, right on track. In fact, I wonder if that's in here.
He'll be here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not seeing aspirin. Oh, wait. No, next episode, aspirin. Hold that joke for later. Okay, as per is a preposition from 1782, which I think I've said 3 times now. Oh, and we have a synonym for it. It says according to, as in, as per your instructions.
As per usual.
And thank you. We have a phrase, as per usual, and it means as usual. So you people are right on top of this. All right. Anybody else have any comments about as per? We're going to move on.
Is it related to Asperger's?
No, but that is our next word. Asperger's syndrome is next with a capital A, It is a noun from 1989. That's when it was coined. A developmental disorder resembling autism that is characterized by impaired social interaction, by restricted and repetitive behaviors and activities, and by normal language and cognitive development, called also Asperger's disorder. Does anybody know where this name comes from? Mark said it's a doctor. He doesn't have a microphone near him. Yes, it is from Hans Asperger, who looks like, I think he died in 1980, and he was an Austrian pediatrician. Does anybody have any comments about Asperger's syndrome? This is going to take 4 hours to do one episode. Yes, what is your comment, young lady?
It sounds like some kind of term for a burger.
It is spelled Asperger, but yes, maybe you should start a burger restaurant and have one called the Asperger. She's just smiling at me. Okay.
That's meat coming from the rear end.
Say that again. Put the mic up and say it again.
I say that's meat coming from the rear end.
An Asperger. I'm sure we're not the first ones to make that joke.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to read all the words for this episode.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Well, we're only doing 1/4 of a page, so we're about a third of the way through. Okay, focus, people. All right, next we have asperges. Asperges, Asperges. This is a noun from circa 1587, a ceremony of sprinkling altar and people with holy water. This is Latin. It means thou wilt sprinkle, and it is from the verb aspergere. All right, we are going to move on to a word that I'm probably going to mispronounce. It is aspergillosis. Aspergillosis, Aspergillosis. This is a noun from 1898. Infection with or disease caused, as in poultry, by Aspergillus molds. Has anybody ever heard of this before?
Another reason you shouldn't eat chicken.
That's right. Next, we have asperity. This is a noun from, where's the year? The 13th century. This is an old one. The number one definition just has the synonyms rigor and severity. 2A, roughness of surface. Synonym is unevenness. Also, a tiny projection from a surface. 2B, roughness of sound. 3, roughness of manner or of temper. And harshness is a synonym, as in, we have an example. Asked with some asperity just what they were implying. And we're going to skip the etymology because I think people are getting bored. Next, we have asperse. This is a transitive verb from the 15th century. 1, we have the synonym sprinkle, especially to sprinkle with holy water. Number 2, to attack with evil reports or false or injurious charges. And we have a synonym, it is the word malign. And next we have aspersion. This is a noun from circa 1587. 1, a sprinkling with water, I see a trend, especially in religious ceremonies. 2A, a false or misleading charge meant to harm someone's reputation, as in casts aspersions on her integrity. And 2B, the act of making such a charge. And then we have a synonym, it is the word defamation. And we are at our last word for this episode. You can hear those cheers. The last word is the first form of the word asphalt. Asphalt. We are going to skip the second form for the next episode. Asphalt, it's not telling me what it is. I would have assumed it's a noun, but it is from the 14th century. 1, a dark bituminous substance that is found in natural beds and is also obtained as a residue in petroleum refining and that consists chiefly of hydrocarbons. Number 2, an asphaltic composition used for pavements and as a waterproof cement. Asphaltic is an adjective and a funny word to say. And does anybody have any comments on the word asphalt?
I think it's your ass's fault.
Yes.
Yes, I think, isn't it some kind of like rock or dirt or something?
Yes, the number 2 definition says an asphaltic composition used for pavements and as a waterproof cement. So a lot of the streets and sidewalks out there are made from asphalt. And this headlamp is falling down on my face, so we are going to end this episode. But first, I have to pick a word of the episode. Does anybody have any? Does any of those words jump out at you as one that was your favorite?
Aspersion.
Aspersion. We are going to say aspersion is the word of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to my live audience for putting up with this ridiculousness. And we are going to end it there. This is Spencer reading you the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Dictionary Podcast, read by me, Spencer. I'm still doing this, and I got a lot of ways to go. How did you like yesterday's episode? Fun fact, I have not listened to the footage yet or edited it, and I'm pretty sure I will be actually doing some editing on that episode, so I have no idea how it turned out. In fact, if it was so terrible, I may actually have to re-record it, but I hope I don't do that. So I have no idea what has happened in the past from the time that you are listening to this. So we are going to read the second quarter of page 73, and we are going to start with the second form of the word asphalt, A-S-P-H-A-L-T. This is a transitive verb from circa 1859, and I feel like I want to throw in a little bit more information from yesterday's live recording episode. I was with my family, my parents, my sister, her husband, their kid, my wife, and my grandpa was there. My grandpa is now I have to do some math. He's 92 years old, and he was the one who made a surprisingly high number of jokes throughout. I'm assuming they made the cut. But yeah, he was kind of on fire. And then when we weren't recording, we were doing some other things, and he made some other really awesome jokes. So he's a surprisingly funny guy. Not usually. He's usually actually pretty quiet. But when he wants to make a joke, it's a good one. I should have him be a guest reader on this, actually. All right, we are going to talk about asphalt. The transitive verb definition is to cover with asphalt, and we have the number 1 definition for the word pave as a synonym. Next, we have asphalt jungle. This is a noun from 1920, a big city or a specified part of a big city. I think I remember hearing this was used in some book. Was the person's name Upton Sinclair? I have a vague memory of learning this in a history class in high school. I was not great at history in school and things, but I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. I should probably go look it up. All right, next we have aspheric. So it's spheric with an A. This is, it could also be aspherical. This is an adjective from circa 1922, departing slightly from the spherical form, especially in order to correct for spherical aberration, as in an aspherical lens. We have had some other lens-specific words in the past. Departing, I'm just rereading this to myself because sometimes I don't fully pay attention to what I'm actually reading. Departing slightly from the spherical form, especially in order to correct for spherical aberration. I wonder if the Omnimax lenses, would those be aspherical or spherical or fisheye lenses? The Omnimax theater, there's only a few in the world I think I've heard, but there's one at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, and, it might be a little bit cheesy, but that is a way to see an immersive movie if you can't do virtual reality. It is a curved screen that fills up almost your complete view, almost 180 degrees, and everything is shot kind of, I guess it would be fisheye, because then it's projected onto a curved screen, and so it just feels like you are in the situation. I mean, it was before virtual reality when they first built it, but I remember seeing films like they got cameras on planes and flying through. I mean, now with the drone technology, I'm sure they're shooting some amazing stuff. All right, I'm talking too much, and I'm a little warm, so I'm going to take off this light jacket. 1 second. Hi, I'm back. All right, next we have asphodel. Yeah, Asphodel. This is a noun from 1597. Any of various Old World herbs of the lily family with flowers in usually long, erect racemes. Is that how you say that word? Racemes? Sure. We are going to skip the etymology, but we are going to say that the scientific names for the Old World herbs, it says especially genera Asphodelus and Asphodeline. Or would it be asphodeline? Asphodeline. I don't know where the emphasis is. We are going to move on to asphyxia. Asphyxia. This is a noun from 1778. A lack of oxygen or excess of carbon dioxide in the body that results in unconsciousness and often death, and is usually caused by interruption of breathing or inadequate oxygen supply. That's bad, and this is a Greek word. It means stopping of the pulse, and it is from A plus sphizine, which means to throb. I think we might... Oh, my voice cracked a little bit. What am I, in the Brady Bunch? We might have had that word in an etymology recently. I can't remember. You want to make sure that you're getting lots of oxygen to your body and your brain and all the pieces if you can control that. Make sure you breathe. Don't hold your breath. Next, we have asphyxiate. This is a verb from 1836. We are going to start with the the transitive definition. There's just one of them, and it says to cause asphyxia in. And the intransitive definition is to become asphyxiated. And I swear I never remember this, but this is a really great, simple description if you are confused about transitive versus intransitive. Intransitive says to become asphyxiated. So it's... Man, how am I going to describe this? To cause... Yeah, so it's... the intransitive form is when it's something happening to something else. And then the transitive means it's the thing that's doing the action. Transitive, I guess, would be more direct, and intransitive would be more indirect. They both start with in. Is that a way to remember it? I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. I'm sure there's a better way, but let's see. Asphyxiation is a noun. So whenever I think of, try to remember the difference between transitive and intransitive, I will think of the word asphyxiate, and I hope you do too. Next we have aspic, A-S-P-I-C. This is the first form. It's a noun from 1530. It is obsolete, and we have as a synonym the second form of the word asp, A-S-P, which we read a while ago. Oh, I have it handy right here. It is a small venomous snake. Let's see. We're going to skip that. The second form of aspic is a noun from 1789. A clear, savory jelly, as of fish or meat stock, used as a garnish or to make a meat, fish, or vegetable mold. I just think the idea of a jelly from fish or meat is disgusting. That's what I got to say about that. This is a French word, and it literally means asp. Is this related to something else? No, I guess not. Okay, we are going to move on to aspidistra. This is a noun from 1822, an Asian plant of the lily family. That's the second time the lily family has been brought up in this episode. That has large, pointed basal leaves. And is it basil? I think it's basil. And is often grown as a foliage plant. The etymology says this is an irregular form of the Greek aspid, which is a prefix, or aspis, which means shield. And the scientific name is Aspidistra eleatior, Elatior. We are going to move on to aspirant. Sorry, my nose is running a little bit. This is the first form of it. It is spelled A-S-P-I-R-A-N-T. This is a noun from 1738. One who aspires, as in presidential aspirants. Next, we have the second form of aspirant. This is an adjective from 1800, seeking to attain a desired position or status, as in, the pilot was an aspirant astronaut. That's hard to say. Aspirant astronaut, aspirant astronaut, aspirant astronaut. We are going to move on next to aspirate. This is the first form of two. We've had a bunch. We've had almost 3 sets in a row. Yeah. Okay, so aspirate. This is a noun from 1617. 1. An independent sound, like the H, the H in H, or a character, as the letter H, representing it. So, specifically with H, I guess you're aspirating, you're making a H sound, but I'm sure there's other examples, right? Number 2, a consonant having aspiration as its final component, as in English, the P of the word pit is an aspirate. Yeah, words and letters and stuff. Number 3, material removed by aspiration. Now we have the second form of aspirate. Actually, the first form is pronounced aspirate, and this one is aspirate. This is a transitive verb from circa 1700. 1. To pronounce a vowel or a consonant with aspiration. And then in parentheses it says, as in the sense of 1A. Wait, sense 1A. I don't know what that means. We're going to move on to 2A. To draw by suction. 2B. To remove as blood by aspiration. 2C. To take into the lungs by aspiration. And aspiration is our next word. It is a noun from the 14th century. 1A. Audible breath that accompanies or comprises a speech sound. 1B. The pronunciation or addition of an aspiration. Also, the symbol of an aspiration. 2. Oh, no, never mind. Number 2. A drawing of... Oh, losing my place. A drawing of something in, out, up, or through by, or as if by suction. Let me read that again. A drawing of something in, out, up, or through by, or as if by suction. As, 2A, the act of breathing, and especially of breathing in. 2B. I don't know why I did that. 2B, the withdrawal of fluid or tissue from the body. 2C, the taking of foreign matter into the lungs with the respiratory current. 3A, a strong desire to achieve something high or great. 3B, an object of such desire. And for all, we have the synonym ambition. Aspirational is an adjective. Although I would say the synonym ambition doesn't necessarily fit with some of the earlier definitions, but that is just a general synonym for the word aspiration. Okay, aspirator is our next word. This is a noun from 1804, an apparatus for producing suction or moving or collecting materials by suction. And I paused on the word suction because it was hyphenated and went over to the second line, and I just got really confused as to what word those letters spelled. Especially a hollow tubular instrument connected with a partial vacuum and used to remove fluid or tissue or foreign bodies from the body. Yeah, get those foreign bodies out of my body. Aspire is next. This is an intransitive verb, and it is from the 14th century. 1. To seek to attain or accomplish as a particular goal, as in aspired to a career in medicine. I did not do that. Number 2, we have the synonyms ascend and soar, and aspirer is a noun. That that word is why can I not talk? Deceptively hard to say. The etymology says this is from Middle French aspirer, which is from the Latin aspirare, which literally means to breathe upon, and that is from ad plus spirare, which means to breathe, and that is it for that one. Next is the word aspirin. This is a noun from 1899. I think that was one of the jokes my grandpa made in the last episode, and I couldn't find the word to see if it was coming up. I actually really hope to have recorded 2 episodes with them, in which case aspirin would have come up, but I think people were getting kind of bored with it, so we just did the one. All right, aspirin is, number 1, a white crystalline derivative, C9H8O4, of salicylic acid used for relief of pain and fever. Number 2, a tablet of aspirin. And let's see, the etymology says it takes the A from acetyl, the SPIR from spiratic acid, and that is the former name of salicylic acid. And the last for this episode is ASR, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, airport surveillance radar, and 2, air-sea rescue. And the word of the episode is going to be asphalt jungle. Yes, I'm pretty sure that was from a book by Upton Sinclair, but I'm really probably wrong on this. And if I'm right, I'm highly impressed with the information in my brain that I was able to come up with that. But again, I'm probably wrong. I think it was just a political statement about big cities in general. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. Thank you for joining me. There is contact information in the episode description. I got an Instagram, which I've been posting pictures to. Facebook and Twitter usually just get those posts. Are they going to Facebook? I think, no, they definitely are. And there's an email. Say hi. Tell me what's up. Share this around to all the other word nerds that you know. All right. Ooh, I just looked at what the last word of this episode is going to be, and that looks cool. Okay, first is as regards. 2 words, or it could also be as respects. This is a preposition from 1633, and it means in regard to or with respect to, as in, as regards our previous discussion. Ooh, this is a fun one. Maybe some of you won't agree, but I think it's fun. It is the word ass, A-S-S. This is the first form of 3, so clearly the word ass is very versatile. This is a noun from before the 12th century, and all of you with immature brains should have some fun with this. Number 1, yes, this is a noun. I'm just reminding you because the next one is also a noun, but it's different, I guess, and the third one is an adverb. So here we go with the number 1 definition of the first form of the word ass, which is a noun. Any of several hardy, gregarious African or Asian perissodactyl mammals, smaller than the horse and having long ears, especially an African mammal that is the ancestor of the donkey. I think we've all heard of this animal, the ass, that's similar to a donkey. I don't know the difference. Do you know the difference? I don't. Like I said. All right, number 2 is italics. It says sometimes vulgar. A stupid, obstinate or perverse person, as in made an ass of himself. It is often compounded with a preceding adjective, as in don't be a smartass. That reminds me of a Far Side comic where there is it's just a living room scene, and on a couch there is an ass or a donkey sitting, and also a rabbit, and they each have thought bubbles. They're not speaking; they're just thinking. And the donkey is thinking, if I remember correctly, he says, "Dumb bunny," and then the bunny is thinking, "Smartass." It's a weird one. I'm not familiar with the term dumb bunny. Maybe that was a thing that people said, but that one was a little weird to me. But I thought the other part was funny. All right, second form of ass, it can also be arse, A-R-S-E. This is a noun. Ooh, you know what? I forgot the etymology for that. We are going to skip it. All right, could also be arse. It is a noun from before the 12th century. 1a. It is often vulgar. It is the synonym buttocks, often used in emphatic reference to a specific person, as in, get your ass over here. Also as in, saved my ass. 1b is also often vulgar, and it has the synonym anus, A-N-U-S. Number 2, again, usually vulgar. Now this is interesting. They say often vulgar for 1a and 1b, and 2 is usually vulgar. So I just take that to mean that the chances of it being vulgar are much higher or somewhat higher than 1a and 1b, which are just often vulgar. Not quite as vulgar as number 2. And it just has the synonym sexual intercourse, which I would almost call that obsolete or archaic, because I have never heard anybody just say the word ass. Well, no, actually, I take that back, now that I think about it. This is from Middle English ars, A-R-S, or E-R-S. It is from the Old English airs, A-E-R-S, and that A-E is our new word ash. That's an ash letter. Or ears, E-A-R-S, and it is akin to the Old High German or Old Norse ars, A-R-S, which means buttocks. I just like saying it that way. And this is also from the Greek orhos, O-R-R-H-O-S, which means buttocks, or also the word aura, O-U-R-A, which means tail. Now we have the third form of the word ass. This is an adverb, and then in brackets it also says it's the second form of ass, so it's probably similar. This is it's from circa 1920. It is often vulgar, not usually vulgar, it's just often vulgar. And it says, used as a post-positive intensive, especially with words of derogatory implication, as in fancy ass. Next, we have the word assai, A-S-S-A-I. This is an adverb, and I just had to make sure that we are recording because I have screwed that up in the past where it wasn't recording. Okay, assai is an adverb from circa 1724. We just have the synonym very, V-E-R-Y. It is used with tempo direction in music, as in allegro assai. And this is Italian, ad satis, from the Latin word ad satis, which means enough, and there's more at the word asset. Next we have assail, A-S-S-A-I-L. This is a transitive verb from the 13th century. To attack violently with blows or words. Synonym is the word attack. Assailable is an adjective, and assailant is a noun. The etymology says this is from Anglo-French assaillir, which is from Latin assaillire, which is an alternative of assaillire. So the first one was A-S-S-A, lire, and this one is A-S-S-I, lire. And that means to leap upon. So when you are assailing somebody, you leap upon them and attack them. And that is from ad plus salire, which means to leap. And there is more at the word Sally, S-A-L-L-Y. Yeah, like the name Sally. I'm going to switch hands holding this microphone. We have next the word Assam, capital A-S-S-A-M. This is a noun from 1842. A black tea grown in northeastern India. And it says the etymology, this is from the town or city or region, I guess, Assam, India. We are going to move on to Assamese. I wonder if this is related. Yes, it is. Assamese. This is a noun from 1826. 1. A native or inhabitant of Assam, India. Number 2. The Indo-Aryan language of Assam. And Assamese is also an adjective. Next we have assassin. This is a noun from circa 1520. 1a, it's when it's in its capitalized form. A member of a Shia Muslim sect who at the time of the Crusades was sent out on a suicidal mission to murder prominent enemies. Number 2, a person who commits murder especially one who murders a politically important person either for hire or from fanatical motives. The etymology says this is from Middle Latin assassinus, which is from the Arabic, let's see if I can pronounce this, hashashin, Hashashin, hashashin. I might have to look that up to see how it's pronounced, which is a plural of hashash. It's so interesting that there's a double SH right in the middle there. SHSH. And that means worthless person. Literally, hashish user. Oh, interesting. So it's a hashish user, but it has it means worthless person. So someone who uses hashish is a worthless person according to that. And that is from the word hashish, which means hashish. All right, now we are going to move on to assassinate. This is a transitive verb from 1607. 1. To injure or destroy unexpectedly and treacherously. Number 2. To murder a usually prominent person by sudden or secret attack, often for political reasons. Synonym says see the word kill. Assassination is a noun, and assassinator is also a noun. And last word for this episode, I teased it before, it is assassin bug. This is a noun from 1895, any of a family of bugs that are usually predatory on insects through some, as a kissing bug, suck the blood. Oh, sorry, let me reread that. Any of a family of bugs that are usually predatory on insects, though some suck the blood of mammals, called also a reduvide or reduvide. There's a double I in there. And that reminds me that the scientific name is reduvidae, something like that. Predatory insects, though some, as a kissing bug, that was in parentheses, so kissing bugs suck the blood of mammals. And there is a picture of an assassin bug, a black and white drawing. It looks, it's got some wings, it's got long legs and long antennae, and a kind of spiky middle section. And I will definitely have to find a picture for Instagram to post of that guy. That is it for the words, and, well, now I'm torn. Do I pick assassin bug as the word of the episode, or do I pick ass as the word of the episode? Ass, I mean, I feel like it's so important in English language, or at least American English language, but assassin bug is also kind of cool. So we're gonna move assassin bug over to Instagram, and we're gonna make ass the word of the episode. Thank you very much for joining me and listening, and that is it. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of the dictionary. If I have done my math right, and if I can read my handwriting right, geez, what does that say? I think today is November 20th. Yes, I think that is correct. The first word of this episode is assault, A-S-S-A-U-L-T. If I haven't said it before, I'm going to say my joke right now. There were two peanuts walking down the street, and one of them was assaulted. This is the first form of the word assault. It is a noun from the 14th century. 1A, a violent physical or verbal attack. 1B, a military attack usually involving direct combat with enemy forces. 1C, a concerted effort as to reach a goal or defeat an adversary. 2A, a threat or attempt to inflict offensive physical contact or bodily harm on a person as by lifting a fist in a threatening manner that puts the person in immediate danger of, that was interesting, of or in apprehension of such harm or contact, and compare to the 1B definition of the word battery. That definition went on way longer than I expected. Part of that was in parentheses, but you can figure it out. All right, 2B, we just have the 2 definition for the word rape. Not a good word. We are going to get there later. Much, much later. And we are going to move on to the second form of assault. This is a transitive verb from the 15th century. 1. to make an assault on. Number 2, again, we have the to definition for the word rape. And here we have the intransitive. So yeah, it's just a verb. I don't know why they put that there. Anyway, we are going to move on to the intransitive definition, which just says to make an assault. And a synonym is the word attack. Assaulter is a noun. And next we have assault boat. 2 words. And this is a noun from 1941. A small portable boat used in an amphibious military attack or inland warfare for crossing rivers or lakes. Next we have assaultive. This is an adjective. Oh God. An adjective from 1946, and if I didn't emphasize it, it ends in tive. 1. Of, relating to, or tending to, toward assault. The word toward went over to the next line, so again I got confused. It says of, relating to, or tending toward assault. All those T sounds. As in, assaultive behavior. Number 2, having an intense or abrasive effect on the senses or emotions, as in loud and assaultive music. Assaultively is an adverb, and assaultiveness is a noun. The assaultiveness of this music is really hurting my ears. Next we have assault rifle. This is a noun from 1972. Any of various automatic or semi-automatic rifles with large capacity magazines designed for military use. And next is automatic. No, assault weapon. I just saw the word automatic, so I said that. Assault weapon is a noun from 1973. Any of various automatic or semi-automatic firearms, especially the one we just read, assault rifle. Next we have assay, A-S-S-A-Y. Could also be assay. I think, hold on, assay or assay. Yep, both emphases are correct. This is the first form. It is a noun from the 14th century. 1 is archaic, and it has the synonyms trial and attempt. Number 2, examination and determination as to characteristics as weight, measure, or quality. 3, analysis as of an ore or drug to determine the presence, absence, or quantity of one or more components. Also, a test used in this analysis. 4, a substance to be assayed or assayed. Also, the tabulated result of assaying. There's an ing there. And this is from Anglo-French, assay, A-S-S-A-I, or E-S-S-A-I, and there's more at the word essay with an E. Now we have the second form of assay or assay. It is a verb. Let's see. Yes, it is a verb from the 14th century. We are going to start with the transitive definitions. Excuse me while I burp and scratch my lip. Number 1, we have these synonyms try and attempt. 2a, to analyze as an or for one or more specific components. 2b, to judge the worth of. Synonym is estimate, or estimate, actually. Now we have the intransitive definition. It is to prove up in an assay. To prove up in an assay, or assay. And assayer is a noun. Next we have asked, A-S-S-E-D. I'm curious to read what this says. It is an adverb from 1923. It is often vulgar. Could have guessed that. And we have the synonym of, which is the third form of the word ass, and it is used in combination, as in sorry-assed state of affairs. And that reminds me, I actually thought about mentioning this earlier somewhere in my brain, but I will say it here. There was a funny comic I saw from xkcd.com. I think I got the letters right. And it was one of the comics that actually stuck with me. It was just, he said, I like to change the hyphenation when I'm talking about things. So if somebody said, oh, that's a small-ass car, he would change the hyphenations of word, at least in the way he says it, and he would say, that's a small-ass car. And I do that to this day, usually just in my brain, but sometimes I'll say it out loud. So if you were to combine the word ass with something, so in this case, instead of being a sorry-assed state of affairs, it would be a sorry-assed state of affairs. That's a bad example, though. What was the other example we saw? Fancy ass. Well, there's nothing to the rest of that sentence, so never mind. We are going to move on to assegai. Assegai. I think that's how it's pronounced. Assegai or Assagai. This is a noun from 1600. A slender hardwood spear or light javelin, usually tipped with iron and used in southern Africa. I think it'd be cool to see a picture of this one, so we might have to put that on Instagram. This is ultimately from the Arabic al-shagaya, which means the assegai, and it is from al, which means the, plus Berber, B-E-R-B-E-R, with a capital B at the front. Wait, what? I don't know. Oh, Berber, that must be a language. It's the Berber word shagaya, which means spear. And then when you combine those together, the spear, it becomes the assegai, I guess. We are going to move on to the word assemblage, as I butcher the pronunciation. It is a noun from 1690. 1. A collection of persons or things. Synonym is gathering, as in magic, the assemblage. Number 2. The act of assembling, the state of being assembled. Avengers, make an assemblage of us. 3a. The artistic composition made from scraps, junk, and odds and ends, as of paper, cloth, wood, stone, or metal. 3b. The art of making assemblages. And it looks like the pronunciation guide has two ways. Let's see, assemblage or assemblage. Ooh, that's a fancy way to say it. Assemblage. I wonder if that's the artistic one, 3a. Artistic composition. That would make sense. Do people really say the word assemblage? Okay, we are going to move on to assemblagist or assemblagist. Literally, it has both of those. Those are both correct. And man, I'm going to have to start saying assemblage every time I say the word assemblage, which is probably 8 times a day. This is a noun. Again, we're talking about assemblagist or assemblagist. This is a noun from 1965, an artist who specializes in assemblages. Man, that blew my mind. Next, we have the word assemble. It is a verb from the 13th century. The transitive definitions are first, as usual. 1. To bring together, as in a particular place or for a particular purpose. 2. To fit together the parts of. Now we have the intransitive definition. It means to meet together. Convene is a synonym, and another one is the word gather. And let's see. The etymology says this is Anglo-French assembler from the Latin assimulare, which is from ad plus simul, S-I-M-U-L, simul, which means together, and there's more at the word same, S-A-M-E. We are going to do one more for this episode. The last word on the page actually is mostly on the next page, so we are going to skip it. We're not going to skip it. We're just going to save it for later. Assembler is the last word for this episode, A-S-S-E-M-B-L-E-R. This is a noun from 1616. 1. One that assembles. 2. A computer program that automatically converts instructions written in assembly language into machine language. I don't know what assembly language is. And 2B, we have the synonyms assembly language. I'm curious what that is. I haven't heard of that. It's probably some programming coding language, possibly. All right, what is the word of the episode? Well, I have to pick assemblage because I really don't think I've ever heard that before, and that was fascinating to me. Thank you very much for listening. I will be having some guest readers soon. In early December, I got a guy who recorded a couple episodes on his own, which I still have to listen to, and I'm hoping to record some episodes with some people in person, hopefully very soon. And if you have any recommendations for people, if you know a celebrity, if you're able to contact one and you think that they might want to be a guest reader, talk to them, get us in contact. I think that would be awesome. I've sent some messages, but nobody cares, so yeah, that hasn't happened yet. That's it for me. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Dictionary. This is only just a few hours after I recorded the previous set, which was the last 3 episodes. I have a little time off, so I'm going to see if I can record some more episodes. We are at the very, very bottom of page 73 with the word assembly, A-S-S-E-M-B-L-Y. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A company of persons gathered for deliberation and legislation, page flip, wordship, or entertainment. No, they are not part of a page flip. Let's read that again. A company of persons gathered for deliberation and legislation, worship, or entertainment. 2 is a capitalized form, a legislative body, specifically the lower house of a legislature. 3, a meeting of a student body and usually faculty for administrative, educational, or recreational purposes. Like Frisbee golf. No, I meant to say ultimate Frisbee. 4a, we have the number 1 definition of the word assemblage as a synonym. And 4b, we have the number 2 definition for the word assemblage. And let's go back and look at that. And yeah, cool. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't the artistic form, which would be pronounced assemblage. Number 5, a signal for troops to assemble or fall in. 6a, the fitting together of manufactured parts into a complete machine, structure, or unit of a machine. I hope they don't take us over and destroy us all. 6b, a collection of parts so assembled. 7, the translation of assembly language to machine language by an assembler. And I actually did look up, usually this doesn't happen so fast, but I did look up assembly language, and it just looks like it's a very basic programming language. Oh, and here we have assembly language. I swear I didn't even look ahead. This is a noun from circa 1964, a programming language that consists of instructions that are mnemonic codes for corresponding machine language instructions. And if you aren't familiar, mnemonic is spelled M-N-E-M-O-N-I-C. It's one of those fun words. Now I'm actually more curious. I want to know what the mnemonic codes are. Next we have assembly line. There is a hyphen. This is an adjective from 1939, made by or as if by an assembly line, especially lacking originality or creativity, as in bored by the novel's assembly line plot. Next we have assembly line without a hyphen. This is a noun from 1914. 1. An arrangement of machines, equipment, and workers in which work passes from operation to operation in a direct line until the product is assembled. It was hard to read the word direct, and it went over to the second line. Number 2. Oh, by the way, I probably haven't mentioned this before, but the pages of this book are very, very thin, because if they were regular page width, this thing would just be massive. So the pages are thin, and so you can actually see a little bit of the words on the other pages on the other side. And so sometimes the words are a little bit hard to read because of that. Okay, number 2, for assembly line, a process for turning out a finished product in a mechanically efficient manner, as in academic assembly lines. And to my knowledge, well, I think Ford was the first one, or one of the first ones to make, or to use assembly lines in car manufacture. And then McDonald's was another notable point in assembly line history where they were able to make things in a very specific, regular way to get things out very quickly. And that changed the world, and America is what it is because of that. Sort of, kind of. Okay, now we have assemblyman or assemblyman. This is all one word. It is a noun from 1647, a member of an assembly. Next, we have Assembly of God. 3 words. The A is capitalized and the G is capitalized. This is from 1952. A congregation belonging to a Pentecostal body founded in the U.S. in 1914. Here we have Assemblywoman. All one word. It is a noun from 1869, a woman who is a member of an assembly. And I think I've experienced this in the past and mentioned it, but I think it is fascinating, not in a good way, that the word assemblywoman wasn't coined until 222 years after the word assemblyman or assemblyman. Obviously, men didn't think that women should be part of assemblies or be able to vote, or obviously the list goes on. And so it wasn't until 1869 where it seems like women were allowed to be part of an assembly, which is just the most ridiculous thing I've heard. And that's when that word was coined, 1869. Okay, next we are going to talk about the word assent, A-S-S-E-N-T. This is the last word for this episode, but this is the first form. We are also going to read the second form in this episode. That is my story. Okay, the first form of assent is a verb, specifically an intransitive verb from the 14th century. To agree to something, especially after thoughtful consideration. Synonym is concur. Anytime I hear the word concur, I think of the movie, I think it was called Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio. Was Tom Hanks in that movie too? Was he the one trying to catch Leo? Boy, I can't even remember at this point. But when Leo was playing, we're on a first name basis, me and Leo. He was playing a guy, real life guy, who he stole a lot of money. He pretended to be people he wasn't. He pretended famously to be a pilot. I guess he also pretended to be a doctor. And when he was pretending to be a doctor, one of the nurses called him in for something, and they said, "We think this is what we should do." And he said, "I concur," because he didn't know what to do or how to do it, and so he just let them do it. And he actually was watching TV shows about doctors to learn what to say and what to do, and he had gotten that line from a TV show, at least in the movie. I don't know if that's really what happened in real life, but if somebody says something that I'm not completely sure if I agree with or not, I just say, sure, I concur. All right, assentor or assenter, O-R or E-R, those are nouns. And the etymology says this is from Anglo-French assentir or assenter, which is from the Latin assentari, which is from the verb assentire, which is from ad plus sentire, which means to feel. Sentire means to feel. And there's more at the word sense. And here we have some synonym information for assent. Let's see. Assent, consent, accede, A-C-C-E-D-E, or is that accede? I think it's accede. Acquiesce, agree, subscribe, mean to concur with what has been proposed. Assent implies an act involving the understanding or judgment and applies to propositions or opinions, as in, voters assented to the proposal. Consent involves the will or feelings and indicates compliance with what is requested or desired, as in, consented to their daughter's going. Is she going to a dance, a party, a sleepover? Accede, again, A-C-C-E-D-E, implies a yielding, often under pressure, of assent or consent. As in, officials acceded, I just don't know how to pronounce this word now. Officials acceded to the prisoner's demands. I'm sure we read accede many, many episodes ago, but I don't feel like going back to check. Acquiesce spelled Acquiesce. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Acquiesce implies tacit acceptance or forbearance of opposition, as in acquiesced to his boss's wishes. Agree sometimes implies previous difference of opinion or attempts at persuasion, as in finally agreed to come along. Subscribe implies not only consent or assent, but hearty approval and active support, as in subscribes wholeheartedly to the idea. And I'm going to give another example. I hope you all subscribe to this podcast and you make other people subscribe to this podcast. All right, very last for this episode is again the word assent. The second form, it is a noun from the 14th century. And I'm just looking at the etymology. Oh, I read that before. Okay, this second form means an act of assenting, and synonyms are acquiescence and agreement. So, the word, should I do one more? Sure, let's do one more. Assentation, Assentation. This is a noun from the 15th century. Ready assent, especially when insincere or obsequious. Ooh, that's a good word, obsequious. What will be the word of the episode? I think we're going to pick assembly language. Maybe I'll learn a little bit more about what that is. And that is it for this, relatively short for these new episodes where I'm not editing. And yes, if you haven't heard, I'm not editing my episodes anymore in case something drastic happens, or I just get sick, or you hate what I'm doing. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the podcast dictionary podcast thing. It is what is happening right now. The first word for this episode. No, I didn't have a stroke there. The first word for this episode is assert, A-S-S-E-R-T. This is a transitive verb from circa 1604. 1. To state or declare positively and often forcefully or aggressively. 2a. To demonstrate the existence of, as in, assert his manhood. And that is a quote from James Joyce. In this day and age, I think people probably should not be asserting their manhood as much as they used to, because that we live in a different time. People don't do that. 2b, we have these synonyms posit and postulate or postulate. Assert oneself is a phrase that means to speak or act in a manner that compels recognition, especially of one's rights. The etymology says this is from Latin assertus, which is from the verb asserere, which is from ad plus serere, which means to join, and there's more at the word series. Not the electronic voice that you talk to on your phone. This is like the World Series, a series of things. All right, we have some synonym information for assert. Assert, declare, affirm, protest, and avow mean to state positively, usually in anticipation of denial or objection. Assert implies stating confidently without need for proof or regard for evidence, as in, asserted that modern music is just noise. Well, that's subjective. Declare stresses open or public statement, as in declared her support for the candidate. Affirm implies conviction based on evidence, experience, or faith, as in affirmed the existence of an afterlife. I would love some affirmation of that, some confirmation, affirmation, some proof. I've heard too many stories from people, which you can hear some of these stories on my wife's podcast, Horrors Talk Horror, because they have a number of episodes about the ghost stories and the paranormal and things like that. But I've heard too many stories that are kind of hard to explain and are almost proof that there is something that we don't understand. We call it the paranormal. And so I have no proof personally, but I feel like I can't not believe that there's something based on all those experiences. Okay, next is protest. Emphasizes affirming in the face of denial or doubt, as in protested that he really had been misquoted. Avow stresses frank declaration and acknowledgement of personal responsibility for what is declared, as in, avowed that all investors would be repaid in full. And another synonym says, see in addition the word maintain. We are going to move on to assertedly. This is an adverb from 1937, by positive and usually unsubstantiated assertion. A synonym is allegedly. Next, we have assertion. This is a noun from the 15th century, the act of asserting. Also, the synonyms declaration and affirmation. Next is assertive. This is an adjective from circa 1619. 1. Disposed to or characterized by bold or confident assertion, as in an assertive leader. Yeah, leaders kind of need to be assertive. Number 2, having a strong or distinctive flavor or aroma, as in assertive wines. Then we have a synonym. It says, see the word aggressive. Assertively is an adverb, and assertiveness is a noun. Next is assertiveness training. 2 words. This is a noun from 1975, a method of training individuals to act in a bold, self-confident manner. I think to an extent that's good. As I've mentioned in the past, you don't want to be overly confident, but there's a lot of people, myself included, that tend to have maybe low self-esteem or just low confidence, and I think some level of training or practicing to get some extra self-confidence is a good thing. Next we have asses, A-S-S-E-S. This is a plural of as, A-S, or of ass, A-S-S. Yeah, I think I remember that as was that a Roman coin, an as, A-S, and then the plural is asses, or there's also the donkey relative ass, or your buttocks ass, and so the plural is asses. Okay, next we have assess, A-S-S-E-S-S. This is a transitive verb from the 15th century. 1. To determine the rate or amount of as a tax. 2a. To impose as a tax according to an established rate. 2b. To subject to a tax, charge, or levy until the levy breaks. 3. To make an official valuation of property for the purposes of taxation. 4. To determine the importance, size, or value of, as in assess a problem. 5. To charge a player or team with a foul or penalty. We have a synonym. It is the word estimate or estimate. Assessable is an adjective that is something that is able to be assessed. The etymology says this is from Middle Latin assessus, which is from the verb assedere, which is Latin, means to sit beside, or also assist in the office of a judge. Well, that's highly specific. And there's more at the word assize, A-S-S-I-Z-E. I don't think I'm familiar with that, but it looks like we are going to read that at the very end of this page 74, which is two more episodes. In case you're super curious, you just cannot wait. All right, next we have assessment. This is a noun from 1534. 1. The action or an instance of assessing. Synonym is appraisal. 2. The amount assessed. Next is assessor with an O-R. You could also just say assessor. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. An official who assists a judge or magistrate. And I feel a burp coming on. Let's see what happens. Number 2. One that assesses, especially an official who assesses property for taxation. Next, we have the word asset. This is a noun from 1531. One is plural. There's 1B, 1A and 1B, both of them must be plural. So 1A, the property of a deceased person subject by law to the payments of his or her debts and legacies. So we're talking about assets here. 1B, the entire property of a person, association, corporation, or estate applicable or subject to the payment of debts. Number 2, we have these synonyms advantage and resource, as in his wit is his chief asset. It's not mine. I wish I were wittier, because I could come up with wittier comments during this podcast. Which is why I like to have guest readers, because it brings a whole new perspective to things. All right, here we go with 3A. An item of value owned. 3B is plural. The items on a balance sheet showing the book value of property owned. 4. Something useful in an effort to foil or defeat an enemy, as 4A. A piece of military equipment. 4B, we just have the synonym spy. Next we have asseverate. Asseverate, I think that's how it's pronounced. Asseverate. Oh, you know what? I have some etymology for asset. Let's see. Back formation from the word assets, singular, sufficient property to pay debts and legacies. From the Anglo-French, assets, with a TZ at the end. From assez, or asses, which is spelled A-S-E-Z. That means enough. From the Latin ad satis, which is from ad plus satis, which means enough. And there's more at the words at, A-T, or the word sad. Okay, here we go with asseverate. This is a transitive verb from 1749, to affirm or declare positively or earnestly, as in, he always asseverated that he did not know. That is a quote from G.K. Chesterton. Asseveration is a noun, and asseverative is an adjective. The etymology is from Latin asseveratus, which is from the verb asseverare. I don't know if you can hear my stomach growling. That is from ad plus severus, which means severe. I have to mention Severus Snape here. That's his first name, right? Severus. So his name means severe Snape. Okay, last word for this episode is, get ready for it, it is the word asshole. A-S-S-H-O-L-E. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. Usually vulgar. It is the synonym anus. Number 2, A. Also usually vulgar. A stupid, incompetent, or detestable person. 2B. Usually vulgar again. The worst place. And that is used in phrases like asshole of the world. I don't know if I've used it in terms of places, but I guess that makes sense. I remember when I first started doing this, my wife said, what are you going to do when you get to the words like, asshole and things like that? Because I have specifically called this podcast not explicit. I feel like if these are words in the dictionary, it's not like we're using them in a mean way. I'm just giving you the definitions. So, if you want to report these episodes as explicit or whatever, that's fine. I can tag them that way. But I feel like they shouldn't be. So that is it. I don't know. I thought I had something else to add on to that, but I forgot it. All right. I kind of want to pick that as the word of the episode, but I feel like that's just, not the most witty thing to do. Let's see. We'll just use the word assert as the word of the episode, just because it was the longest one, and I can't think of anything else. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me on this podcast, or in this podcast, or with this podcast, or whatever the proper phrase would be. It is called the dictionary, but if you didn't know that, I'm concerned. Let's see. The first word for this episode is assiduity. A-S-S-I-D-U-I-T-Y. This is a noun from 1596. There's that burp that I mentioned in the last episode. Number 1, the quality or state of being assiduous. Synonym is diligence. Number 2, persistent personal attention, usually used in the plural. Next, we have assiduous. What was mentioned in the last one? This is an adjective from 1622, marked by careful, unremitting attention or persistent application, as in an assiduous book collector. Also as in, tended her garden with assiduous attention. We have a synonym, says see the word busy, B-U-S-Y. Assiduously is an adverb, and assiduousness is a noun. Next, we have the word assign, A-S-S-I-G-N. It is the first form of to. This one is a transitive verb, and I think, it doesn't look like there's any intransitive definition. So, it's just a transitive verb from the 13th century. 1. To transfer property is in parentheses, to another, especially in trust or for the benefit of creditors. 2a. To appoint to a post or duty, as in, assigned them to light duty. Also as in, assigned me 2 clerks. That's such a weird example. 2b. To appoint as a duty or task, as in, assigns 20 pages for homework. Well, that's just too many pages, in my opinion. Number 3, to fix or specify in correspondence or relationship, as in, assign counsel to the defendant. Also as in, assign a value to the variable. 4a, to ascribe as a motive, reason, or cause, especially after deliberation. 4b, to consider to belong to a specified period of time. That's in parentheses. We have a synonym, says see the word ascribe. Assignability is a noun, assignable is an adjective, and assigner, spelled E-R or O-R, those are both nouns. And the etymology says this is from the Anglo-French assigner, which is from the Latin assignare, which is from ad plus signare, which means to mark. That is from signum, which means mark or sign. Next, we have the second form of assign. It is a noun from the 15th century, and we have the number 3 definition of the word assignee as a synonym, as in heirs and assigns. Heirs is spelled H-E-I-R-S. That's like the heir to the throne, the one who is going to get the thing later, and assigns. All right, next we have, let's see, assigner. Assigner, this looks French. Assigner. It's saying that it's a long E, assigna. Maybe that's what it is. Assigna, or it could also be assignate or assignate. Something like that. A-S-S-I-G-N-A-T. Apologies for taking too much time on those pieces. This is a noun from 1790. A bill issued as currency by the French Revolutionary Government from 1789 to 1796 on the security of expropriated lands. And yes, this is French, from the Latin assignatus, which is from the verb assignare. Next we have assignation, a much easier word for me to say. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. The act of assigning or the assignment made. 2. An appointment of time and place for a meeting. Especially, we have the synonym tryst, T-R-Y-S-T, as in, returned from an assignation with his mistress. That is a quote from W.B. Yeats. Next, we have assigned risk. That is 2 words. It is a noun from 1946. A poor risk as an accident-prone motorist that insurance companies would normally reject but are forced to insure by state law. Okay, yeah, I mean, I get why they don't want to, but, everyone should be able to have insurance. Even those who don't pay attention to what they're doing. Whatever. Pay attention. Don't be accident-prone. Be safe. Okay, next we have assignee. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A person to whom an assignment is made. 2. A person appointed to act for another. 3. A person to whom a right or property is legally transferred. Next we have assignment. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. The act of assigning. 2a. A position, post, or office to which one is assigned. 2b. A specified task or amount of work assigned or undertaken as if assigned by authority. 3. The transfer of property, especially the transfer of property to be held in trust or to be used for the benefit of creditors. Synonym is the word task, T-A-S-K. How many more are we going to do for this episode? I think we will do one or two. No, that's not the word. Assimilable. Assimilable. A-S-S-I-M-I-L-A-B-L-E. This is an adjective from 1667, capable of being assimilated. Assimilable. As in, provides information in a clear, assimilable fashion. And that is from the Times Lit Sup. Assimilability. Ooh, that is a fun word. Assimilability is a noun. I think that will be the end of the episode. What is a word that jumps out at me as being my favorite word? I mean, maybe just because I like assimilability, I might pick assimilable. What's that phrase they say? Assimilation is future. No, it's the other way around. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Star Trek, the Borg. You get it. You got to assimilate to everything. That is our next word. We are going to save that for the next episode. And thank you for joining me on this wonderful jaunt into words and things. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Dictionary. We are going to finish the page 74 today. Actually, that's a lie. We are going to hold off the very last word at the bottom of the page for the next episode because it's mostly on the next page. By the way, that is the word assize, which I mentioned would be at the end of this episode, but I didn't look ahead to see, if it was finished on that page or not. So I lied about that. Sorry. The first word for this episode is assimilate, A-S-S-I-M-I-L-A-T-E. It is the first form, and it is a verb from the 15th century. We are going to start off with the transitive definitions. 1A, to take in and utilize as nourishment. Absorb into the system. 1B, to take into the mind and thoroughly comprehend. 2A, to make similar. 2B, to alter by assimilation. 2C, to absorb into the culture or mores of a population or group. Mores is M-O-R-E-S. That's sort of not a terribly common word to throw in a situation like that. Number 3, we have the synonyms compare and liken. Now we have the intransitive definition. It just means to become assimilated. Assimilator is a noun. We have some usage information. When assimilate is followed by a preposition, transitive senses 2A and 2C commonly take the words to and into, and less frequently the word with. 2B regularly takes the word to. Sense 3 most often takes the word to and sometimes the word with. The most frequent prepositions used with the intransitive sense are the words to and into. Did you understand that? Good. Now we have the second form of assimilate or assimilate. This is a noun from 1935. Something that is assimilated. Now we have assimilation. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1A, an act, process, or instance of assimilating. 1B, the state of being assimilated. 2, the incorporation or conversion of nutrients into protoplasm that in animals follows digestion and absorption, and in higher plants involves both photosynthesis and root absorption. 3, change of a sound in speech so that it becomes identical with or similar to a neighboring sound, as in the usual assimilation of Z to, of the letter Z to SH in the phrase his shoe. So his is the Z sound at the end of the word his, and the sh sound at the beginning of the word shoe. They sort of are assimilated together, so they get combined, and it sounds like his shoe. It just flows naturally. Okay. 4, the process of receiving new facts or of responding to new situations in conformity with what is already available to consciousness. There may be a sneeze in my future. Assimilationist is next. This is a noun from 1899. a person who advocates a policy of assimilating differing racial or cultural groups. Assimilationism is a noun, and assimilationist is an adjective. And I want to remember that phrase that I mentioned at the end of the last episode. I think something is futile. It's not assimilation is futile. Resistance is futile. Is that what they say? Because when you're part of the Borg, or when the Borg is trying to get you in Star Trek, resistance is futile. They're going to get you. They're going to assimilate you. Okay, where were we? Assimilative is next. I hope you're not hearing those sounds. It sounds like my phone is sending signals. I'm just going to put it on airplane mode to make things easy, but you might not be hearing it anyway. Assimilative is an adjective from the 14th century of relating to or causing assimilation. Next is assimilatory, and this is an adjective from circa 1847, and we just have the synonym assimilative. Next, we are away from all the assimilation words. Next, we have assiniboine? Assiniboine. Reminds me of a Cinnabon. A capital A, Ssiniboin, or you could add an E at the end of that. Cinnabon. I think that's what the pronunciation guide is telling me. This is a noun from 1794, a member of an American Indian people originally of the area between the upper Missouri and middle Saskatchewan rivers. This is an Ojibwa word, Ojibwa dialect. The original word was Assinipoin. I'm saying that as an American. AssiniPwan. There's also a couple of dots in the middle, and it literally means stone Sioux, not stone soup. Sioux is the American Indian word Sioux, stone Sioux. I wonder what that means exactly to them, because it's not terribly clear to me. All right, next we have the word assist. This is the first form. It is a verb from the 15th century. Transitive definition is first, or there's more than one. No, there's just one. To give usually supplementary support or aid to, as in, assisted the boy with his lessons. Now we have the intransitive definitions. 1. To give support or aid. Assist, as in, assisted at the stove. Also as in, another surgeon assisted on the operation. 2. To be present as a spectator, as in, the ideal figures assisting at Italian holy scenes. That is a quote from Mary McCarthy. The etymology says this is from the Middle French assister, which means to help or stand by, which is from Latin assistere, which is from ad plus sistere, which means to cause, to stand. And that is akin to the Latin word, I think it would be pronounced stare. It's spelled like stare, and that means to stand. And there's more at the word stand. Now we have the second form of assist. It is a noun from 1597. 1. An act of assistance. Synonym is aid, A-I-D. Number 2. The action, as a throw or pass, of a player who enables a teammate to make a put-out or score a goal. Also, official credit given for such an action. 3. A mechanical or electromechanical device that provides assistance. And assistance is our next word. It is a noun from the 14th century. The act of assisting or the help supplied. Synonym is aid, as in financial and technical assistance. Next is the word assistant. This is a noun from the 15th century, a person who assists. A synonym is helper. Also, it's telling me, a person holding an assistantship. Assistantship. That's a hard word to say. Assistantship. Assistant is also an adjective. Next we have assistant professor. This is a noun from 1827, a member of a college or university faculty who ranks above an instructor and below an associate professor. I was always confused about that. You hear assistant professor and associate professor, and I assume the definition for associate professor says one who ranks above an assistant professor but below a professor. Assistant professorship is a noun. Now we have that word I had trouble with, assistantship. This is a noun from 1948. A paid appointment awarded annually to a qualified graduate student that requires part-time teaching, research, or residence hall duties. Next, we have assisted living, two separate words. This is a noun from 1981. A system of housing and limited care that is designed for senior citizens who need some assistance with daily activities but do not require care in a nursing home. Usually hyphenated when used attributively, as in an assisted living facility. I would update this, maybe in the newer version of the dictionary it is updated, but I would update this to also, in addition to senior citizens, I believe there is also assisted living homes for people who have various physical or mental, I guess, handicaps or disabilities would be the word. I don't know. I don't want to use the out-of-date word, but I'm honestly not sure what it is, so I want to be respectful. Handicaps might be the right word. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. My grandparents, I think all of my grandparents live in assisted living facilities. They're not in nursing home. They can mostly take care of themselves, which is great. But, they're in their 90s. Why am I talking about this? All right, next we have assisted suicide. This is a noun. It's two separate words from 1976. Suicide committed by someone with assistance from another person, especially the synonym physician-assisted suicide. I know in Oregon this is legal, and depending on the situation, I think this should be legal everywhere. It's when you know that you have a terminal illness and you are of clear mind and body, at least mind, I guess, you should be allowed to do this. If you know that your physical state, your life is going to be terrible because of the thing that you have, you should be allowed to do this and not cause strain on other people or more financial burden. I just don't understand why that isn't in more states. All right, next and last word for this episode is assistive, A-S-S-I-S-T-I-V-E. This is an adjective from 1829, providing aid or assistance, specifically designed or intended to assist disabled persons. And we have an example. It is assistive technology. Assistive technology, that has made a lot of leaps and bounds. I've heard of scanners that will read various bills like currency, and that will then tell a blind person what that bill is. There's a lot of stuff like that. I guess cochlear implants would be assistive technology. There's a lot of good things like this. This is definitely one of the really, really great uses of technology. There's a lot of bad uses of technology, a lot of ways that I really don't think are necessary, but this is definitely one that I fully support. All right, that is it for this episode. We are going to move aside to the next episode, and the word of the episode is going to be assisted living. No. We'll do what do I pick? We'll pick assisted suicide just because I think that's a big thing that more states need to look into, and will lessen the burden in various ways on various people if it is made legal. That is it for this episode. What a wonderful, positive end point we had there, and thank you for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. I just had a very weird thing. I thought that I was a page behind where I really am, so I started reading these words, and I was like, I think I've already read these. So that was weird. First question, which I asked in my previous recording, which no one will ever hear. Quick question for you. Do you want me to make this an explicit podcast? I have said on many occasions this is non-explicit because I would like kids to be able to listen to it, and sometimes maybe they're listening with their parents, although there's probably no kids listening. Maybe the parents don't want me to say bad words. It would free me up to be a little bit more myself and just not censor myself. But if you think that I should or should not, or if I should make it explicit or should keep it the way it is, let me know. Send me an email, message me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those social medias. It's all in the episode description. So, we are going to start with the word assize, ASSIZE. I thought it was assembly, but that was like 4 episodes ago. All right, so assize, bottom of page 74. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1A, a judicial inquest. 1B, an action to be decided by such an inquest, the writ for instituting it, or the verdict or finding rendered by the jury. So lots of options there in the 1B definition. And I'm going to turn up my headphones a little bit here. Nope, that's the wrong direction. Let's try that. All right, number 2A, the former periodical session of the superior courts in English counties for trial of civil and criminal cases, usually used in plural. 2B, the time or place of holding such a court, the court itself, or a session of it. And let's turn up the volume just a tad. And it is usually used in plural, that 2B one. And let's look at the etymology. This is from Middle English, assise, A-S-S-I-S-E. It is from Anglo-French, which means session or legal action. It is from assir, or assoir, which means to seat, and that is from the Latin verb assedere, which is from another Latin verb, assedere, spelled a little differently, which means to sit beside or assist in the office of a judge. That's pretty specific. And that is from ad plus sedere, which means to sit, and there is more at the word sit. Now we have ASSN. This is an abbreviation for the word association. Next is ASSOC. I guess you could pronounce it ASOC or ASOC or something else. This is also an abbreviation for associate, associated, or association. Next we have associate. Actually, in this case, it is associate, or associate. I guess sometimes people put a sh sound in there. This is the first form of 3, so I'm guessing the pronunciation is going to change a little bit as well. This is a verb from the 14th century. Transitive definitions are first. 1, to join as a partner, friend, or companion. 2 is obsolete. To keep company with. Synonym is attend, like associate at a party or something. Number 3, to join or connect together. Synonym is combine. 4, to bring together or into relationship in any of various intangible ways, as in memory or imagination. Now we have the intransitive definitions. Number 1, to come or be together as partners, friends, or companions. 2, to combine or join with other parts. Synonym is unite, like Voltron. Synonym for all is the word join. And the etymology says this is from Middle English associat with no E at the end, which means associated. And that is from the Latin associatus, which is from the verb associare, which means to unite. And that is from ad plus sociare, which means to join. And that is from socius, which means companion. And there is more at the word social. We are going to move on to the next form of this word, and it looks like it is pronounced associate, associate, or associate, or associate, or associate. Associate. I think that's another perfectly valid pronunciation. This is an adjective from the 14th century. 1. Closely connected, as in function or office, with another. Number 2. Closely related, especially in the mind. 3. Having secondary or subordinate status, as in associate membership in a society. Now we have the third form of associate or associate or associate or associate, many forms, same pronunciations as the second form. This is a noun from 1533. 1. One associated with another, as 1a, the synonyms partner and colleague. 1b, we have the synonyms companion and comrade. I wanted to say comrade. 2a, an entry-level member as of a learned society, professional organization, or profession. 2b, we have the synonyms employee and worker. Number 3 is often capitalized. A degree conferred especially by a junior college, as in associate in arts. Associateship is a noun. Next we have associate professor, and I think recently we had assistant professor, if I am remembering correctly. Yep, there it is. You can't see it, but I'm looking right at it. So associate professor is a noun from 1819. A member of a college or university faculty who ranks above an assistant professor and below a professor. And I'm pretty sure that's what I predicted when I read assistant professor, which says, just to remind everybody, a member of a college or university faculty who ranks above an instructor and below an associate professor. Do you remember that? If not, that means you probably are not listening to these in order, and shame on you. Associate professorship is a noun. So can we just add ship to the end of words to make them nouns? Like, well, I'm not going to be able to come up with an example that fast. I'm not so smart. Next, we have association or association. Why do people put the sh sound in there? This is a noun from 1535. 1a, the act of associating. 1b, the state of being associated. Synonyms are combination and relationship. So there's that ship. Number 2, an organization of persons having a common interest. Synonym is society. Number 3, sorry, I was distracted because I was moving my fingers on the microphone and I heard it, and you can probably hear it too. See? Do you hear that? Okay, number 3, something linked in memory or imagination with a thing or person. 4, the process of forming mental connections or bonds between sensations, ideas, or memories. 5, the aggregation of chemical species to form, as with hydrogen bonds, loosely bound complexes. So I'm going to read that again without the part in parentheses. The aggregation of chemical species to form loosely bound complexes. Or would it be complexes? Number 6, a major unit in ecological community organization characterized by essential uniformity and usually by 2 or more dominant species. Associational is an adjective. Next, we have association area. This is a noun from circa 1909. An area of the cerebral cortex that functions in linking and coordinating the sensory and motor areas. The cerebral cortex, by the way, is in your brain, if you didn't know that. Yeah, it's a thing in your brain that does some stuff. Next, we have association football. This is a noun from 1873, and I just learned something. It's a synonym, or a synonym for it is the word soccer. So obviously, in America, we call football, football. And in other countries, their football is our soccer. But here, you could also say association football. I don't really know where I'm going with this. It's the same thing. It's soccer. All right. Are we going to read one more for this episode. I think we are. Yeah, sure, why not? Associationism is a long word. It is a fun word to say. It is spelled associationism. I should probably save this for the next episode, but I'm not. It is a noun from 1875. A reductionist school of psychology that holds that the content of consciousness can be explained by the association and reassociation of irreducible sensory and perceptual elements. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Associationist is a noun, and associationistic is an adjective. And now is the time of the episode where I have to pick a word. I am going to go ahead and pick associationism because that sounds kind of interesting. So, thank you very much for listening to me read some words to you. Let people know about this. Go ahead, follow my Instagram. I'm posting funky pictures. I mean, they're not all funky, but I try and write something relatively interesting. And yeah, say hi. What's up? Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye.